declare and decree in this season, I will submit to the voice of the Holy Spirit calling my name. I am walking in the fullness of his purpose and plan for me and my life. It is my Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, a new episode of She Emerged with me, your host, S.H.E. I know it has been a while. I took some time off. I had some things going on with the family and some new journeys beginning. And so I wanted to be able to bring you guys fresh content. I wanted to be able to put myself in a position to continue to inform and entertain and just have fun with you all. And sometimes you just need a break. And so I took a break and I'm back to pick up where I left off. To close out this season of the podcast. I just want to say thank you to everyone. I hit another milestone. I had 1,000 podcast downloads this month, and I am super grateful and thankful to you all for your continued support, that you found it not robbery to support me and to listen to me, that you find whatever it is I'm saying to be useful. I pray that you are getting the information as it is intended to be received, and just being informative and helpful and to help you on your healing journey. If you have not done so, please make it your business to go to www.savedhealedenough.com and pick up my book. That's right, my book, She Emerged, The Manifestation of Me. It touches on some pivotal traumatic moments in my life, and I just walk you through those things and explain to you how I came out of them, the lessons that I learned from them, and how they've made me better today. Although she is still emerging, I just wanted to share that portion of my journey with you, and I pray that I have some more to share with you. Also, pick up the guided journal. The She Emerged guided journal. It's interactive. There's some great content in there, some great steps. It is literally a mirror of my journal, what I've used to get myself through. And I just felt like, God led me to share that with you all, and how journaling the way that I do helped me. So I pray that it will help you as well. So pick that up. My sister, Lisa Tate Stevenson's new book, I Choose Me, is also out. I'm going to run that across the bottom of the screen a little later. And my sister Tamita Brockington's book, Marriage is Not a Fairy Tale, is also still available. Pick that up. It is an awesome read, whether you are married or single. All right. So today I'm back with some really interesting stuff. Now, you guys know I need my notes, so I have to glance at my notes because I never want to not give you what I've prepared for you. And sometimes I can get a little distracted, especially when we're conversating. So today we are going to talk about, I seen this quote right on Instagram. And so I've been really on this journey of self-reflection and what's my next? Like, where's my next? Like I went through a season of just being closed in and just another level of healing and just trying to get to the best version of myself. And I can tell you that I have begun to travel. I have begun to expand my circle. I'm sure you've heard me say it before. I'm not a people person. I'm not a new friends type of person. And God has just been kind of really pushing me out of my comfort zone and forcing me to see things from another perspective, which is good. Definitely for me, because I'm not a person who likes change. And I've had a rough couple of years. I've been dealing with some grief. I've lost a lot of loved ones. Some to death, and then some to just literal separation, like the season ended. And sometimes we're just not always in agreement with a season ending because we are so accustomed to it and we love it so much and we're so attached to it. And I'm one of those people, I don't really care for change too much. And once I get in my groove, I'm in my groove. But God has begun to make me be uncomfortable in that groove. Uncomfortable to say the least. And so I came across this quote on social media, and it says, God has removed you from a table where you used to sit in order to save you from a host who was serving you poison. Your loyalty had you blinded. Now that is a mouthful. Do you hear me? That kind of hit me in the gut. I was like, and I'm the type of person that does not believe that anything happens by chance. So even if I'm scrolling on social media, a lot of times I don't see everything that people that I consider friend that, I know I don't often see their posts. So when something is blatantly put in my face like that, that truly applies to me, I take heed to that, and I take it to the Lord in prayer. Like, was this really for me, God? And this was something that I knew was for me. Um, and so I started to ask myself the question: how many times have myself, or even you, have you found yourself being loyal to a fault? Um, I'm the type of person, when I love you, I love you. When I love hard. And because I don't give it freely. I'm not a person who gives my love and affection freely, whether it be in relationships and friendships. I'm just not that person. The only people that get my love freely uh, are my children and my husband. And even that was, for my husband, that was a job. For my children, that came naturally. But that was a job for him because I had trust issues. I'm not really a person that likes to invite people in. And so when I do put myself in a position to open up and put myself out there and let people in, I love hard, and wholeheartedly and uninhibitedly. And if I got it, you got it. And I'm that person. And is that always healthy? Nope. Am I learning that lesson? Absolutely. Was it a good lesson to learn? Nope. Did it hurt? Yes. Um, However, I needed to learn that lesson. And so I'm okay with that, because once I got out of that, the initial shock and hurt of it, and started to see the lesson in it, which is something that I'm learning, um, it opened my eyes up to where I was wrong. I recognized that I put my expectations and my perceptions onto some of the people that I had felt wronged me. And that was my fault because I didn't have the right to do that. My expectations don't belong on them. My perceptions don't belong on them. I have to see people for who they are, meet them where they are, and not try to force them to be what I need them to be. And so, in that, that's where I went wrong. Um, and I had to acknowledge that. And that's a very hard thing to acknowledge. Um, so, you know, for people like myself, who finds themselves being loyal to a fault, something in you kind of knows. Um, they kind of know that, like, I kind of knew that there were some things that weren't quite right about some of the situations that I found myself in. But again, you got tunnel vision. You just want to love. That was a new thing for me because, again, I'm not a person who lets people in. So I felt like God was unctioning me um, to be more open and be more receptive to new people and let people in, and be more trusting. Um, but it just wasn't in the manner that I went about it. And so I wasn't strategic in my questions and to God and how He wanted me to move forward in this thing. And I just kind of went head first, and landed on my head. So, I knew there's something in me that knew that, this these situations in each and every one, I got a sign that, listen, you speeding. Um, but I kept going, and it, wasn't quite right. So there was something quite not quite right about the relationship, the friendship, the environment, the situation, because I've had multiple situations like that. It's not just limited to one, and I'm sure we've all had them. But again, we get in our own way, in our own space, and we feel like we're doing things right, and we're not really willing to see um, another perspective. But you live, you learn, right? So, um, you know, you stay and you participate, you hold on anyway, even though you know that the situation has changed. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't look the same. Um, like, how many times have you ignored that gut feeling? Because I know I've done it. Um, the uneasiness, the loss of motivation, the loss of desire to be a part of it. Yet you keep going. Even though there's just that thing nagging you, telling you, all right, it's time to either, wind this down, and not always in a negative way, but listen, this was not meant to be long term. You were not meant to stay here long term. It's time to kind of wean back and, wean off of it, and take a step back for your own good. But hard hit. My grandmother used to say, hard head make a soft behind, that part, and a broken heart. So, even though you get those gut feelings, it's just something about it, the familiarity of it, just continue to draw you in, and you hold on, even when it no longer feels good to be there. Maybe it helped you through something. I know for me, there these some of these instances where I had emotional attachments to them because they were pivotal into my evolution, so to speak. Um, maybe it helped you through something or brought you to something. Um, for one or both reasons, you feel selfish, you may be dishonest, or disloyal if you walk away, or maybe the love you have for it makes you feel obligated to hold on. That was a big issue for me. I have a lot, again, when I love, be it a person, a place, a thing. When I love, I love. And so I've learned that even certain places that I've held on to those things for too long. But my love and my loyalty to those spaces, kind of, I was holding myself hostage to them, even though it stopped feeling good. It stopped being good. It stopped being for my good. Um, I was still like holding on. And I just kind of knew, like, I planted enough seeds here. I've done the best that I could here. I've done enough good. Maybe not all good. I may have not have gotten it right all the time because I am human. Um, but it was enough, and I just couldn't, like, I was just in my own way, in my own head, not willing to see that it was enough, and I did feel guilty, like, but they need me, or this needs me, or I'm doing great in this space. Um, is that selfish of me to walk away? And I was being foolish, and that's just the truth. But again, I was also being human. Um, so again, we hold on to things for different reasons. What it has brought you through, or maybe it helped you to build a connection to something else, and you just didn't want to seem like you were a user or being dishonest by just letting it go, um, or not being appreciative of what you feel like God blessed you with. But listen, sometimes God blesses you with things for a season. They're just meant to give you a lesson, and then it's time to transition and move on to the next level, so that that person, that place, that thing may be of some good to someone else. They weren't maybe meant to stay with you forever, or you weren't maybe meant to stay with it forever. But sometimes we get stuck in that, and we cause ourselves more heartache. Um, one lesson that God has been adamant about me learning in this season is, like I just said, um, everything you love is not yours to keep. Some things are simply on loan, to us, and we have to condition ourselves to let go and be willing to see the difference. So God will always give you a sign. You'll always know when it's time to let go. Now, whether you accept that sign, now whether you choose to acknowledge that sign, is truly on you. It falls on us. Like, sometimes we just don't want to accept it. Everything is not that we come across that is sent to us is not ours to keep. Again, it may have just been a lesson. It may have just been something for the season. And so we have to learn to see the difference, because sometimes we're holding on to things for too long, and we miss it. We miss what we were actually supposed to get out of it, because we're not willing to let go and operate in that lesson, which was meant to maybe elevate us and feed our evolution. Um, it can be great for a season, for the season for which it was designated. However, if you begin to see it see it differently over time, if it ceases to feel good or be good, if it hurts more than it helps, if you have moments where you question it, or you know it's time to start exploring those things. Like, you have to acknowledge it. I saw things, I saw signs, I saw changes, and I chose not to acknowledge it in a lot of those situations. Um, and I knew in my heart that it was time to just move on, but I never did, because God had to literally rip it away from me, force me, because I'm hard headed. I'm that kid, that just always get in my own way, have to see things my own way. And so for me, God really has to, like, choke me out. Like, it's enough. I'm gonna cut the oxygen off to this, and you need to know that it's time to let it go. And so before you end up like me, because Peter just be in the way, that other side, it just do something to me, it gets me in a lot of trouble. And you hit that level of hurt, just acknowledge those things, explore them. Again, write them down. I'm big on writing it down. Go back, review it, look at it, um, because sometimes we miss it because we don't want to see it, and sometimes we need to see it because we're holding ourselves hostage to something that, again, God is just literally trying to shift us away from for our own good. And um, if it's God ordained and it's for our good, then He's going to make sure that the situation that you're leaving is good as well. He is not a messy God. He's not hurtful either. We have to learn to be open and okay with change and letting go. Something that I'm learning, because I'm not real good with that. Um, and now I'm not talking about something that simply challenges you, though. Let's be clear here, or is pushing you to an uncomfortable place. Those things are very different. You have to be wise enough to know the difference. Now, listen, you are going to have there are going to be some people that are going to be on your journey, some places that are going to be a part of your journey, some things that are going to be a part of your journey for the long haul. But you have to know the difference. So if it's not, if it's making you uncomfortable, but in a good way, like making you want to grow, making you acknowledge things that you need to change in a good way, and you feel good about the changes, then it's absolutely for you. But if it is hurting you, if it's not, doesn't feel genuine, if it just doesn't feel good, and is causing you more harm than good, causing you to be depressed, to be sad, your self-esteem, those types of things, then you really just, that may not be the best thing for you. um, so you really want to be mindful of how you deal with and handle those things, and how you acknowledge them, and use wisdom. Again, explore everything, write it down, look at it, go back and reread it, and pay attention to the signs. Um, if it's no longer bringing out the best in you and it hurts more than it helps, then it's probably time to let it go. We tend to hold on to things that are familiar because we fear the unknown, or our self-esteem is challenged, and we feel that this may be all that we're worthy of, all that we deserve, all that we can get. Um, this is where you should recognize an area in you that needs work. If it is good for you, it will bring out good changes. It will motivate you. It will push you. It will make you pleasantly uncomfortable. It will make you want to grow and move. It should activate you, in a great way, in a good, good way. You know, if I'm in a place and it's not, I get up every day and I'm not motivated to do something different. I'm not motivated to try something different. I'm not motivated to go out and just do something. Then I'm not in a great place. That place is not for me. Um, and you have to be willing to see that. If you're in a circle of people and you're not motivated to be better, to be the best version of yourself, to feel good about yourself, yes, some of it falls on you, but you also have to be mindful of what you surround yourself with. And again, you gotta let it go. If it's not for you, that could just very well be God showing you that it's time to let this thing go. Your season with this thing, or in this place, space, or with this person has expired. And you've gone as far with it as I feel like you need to go. And we have to respect God's wishes when it comes to those things, because He is the author and the finisher. Um, if it's draining you, if it makes you feel bad, it hurts emotionally, psychologically, physically, and spiritually, that could mean it's not for you anymore. And sometimes it's potentially never for you. Because sometimes we can walk into things and get in our own way and be in total disobedience and not recognize that, okay, this never worked. And it never worked because I was never supposed to be here. I was never supposed to be attached to these people. I was never supposed to be a part of this situation. But because a lot of times we are human and we get in our own way and we do not look for guidance and we don't use wisdom, um, and we're not willing to see another perspective, we put ourselves in those positions. So I met a young lady in the grocery store yesterday, and it was really, God is always in the midst when He wants to remind you of something. And so I'm standing there and I'm just waiting. I was waiting to order something, and she was talking to the woman behind the counter. And I heard this woman, and although I wanted to say excuse me so I could place my order, God wouldn't allow me to move. And so I just listened. And this woman was pouring into this young lady. I don't know if they knew each other. It didn't seem like they did, but she was pouring into this young woman, and she was trying to kind of basically explaining to her, um, that it was time for her to separate herself from someone that she was involved with, her children's father. And so I didn't say anything. I just listened. And the woman just kind of looked at me and she was like, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I was like, well, actually, I do. I understand, being in a relationship that you're not supposed to be in. I understand being in a season of disobedience as well. Um, and as I'm listening to her, she was just explaining, the young lady was explaining to me how the situation just no longer seemed to fit her, how it just didn't feel good anymore, how she felt like, she wanted, she was being pulled, like she wanted to evolve, she wanted more. She was like, I want more, I want to do more, I want to be more. um, and every time I try, my significant other discourages me from that. Like, he makes it seem as if I don't need to do that, or you don't need to work two jobs, we're fine the way we are. And she was like, he's comfortable with being mediocre and I'm not. And So my response to her was, if it no longer feels good to you, why are you there? If it no longer meets your needs, why are you there? If it's not encouraging you, if it's not um, pushing you to be better, then why are you there? Because clearly he sees the great in you, which is why he goes out of his way to ensure that you will never outgrow him. And she just kind of looked at me and the tears started rolling down her face. And again, I'm just waiting to get my food. That was not my intention. So I felt so bad. However, it was necessary. It was something that maybe she needed to hear. And sometimes you receive things differently from strangers. Um, and so we carried on the conversation, and I just continued to encourage her and give her resources that she could call and things that she could do. And I gave her a little bit about my own story and being in a relationship that wasn't healthy for me. And I explained to her that people see you coming. People see you before you see you. And a lot of times when you're not self-aware and you don't see the great in you and you don't see the good in you, it's hard for you to imagine somebody else seeing it. And so sometimes we walk into these situations and attach ourselves to people and places and spaces and things um, that see us coming. They see you before you do. And so because you are not aware of the greatness in you and they are, of course they're not going to encourage you to be greater, especially if that's not in their makeup. And when you don't know who you are, but somebody else can see it, one or two things can happen. They're either going to encourage you or they're going to discourage you. And so this young lady found herself in a situation where she was being discouraged by not just her significant other, but also his family. Because why? Why would he want you to outgrow him? You're probably keeping him busy and out of his mama's house. She don't want him back, so she gonna make sure that you keep him. No, they don't want you to go to school and evolve, because as you start to experience new and different things, you gonna leave him behind. He doesn't want you to do that. He's trying to keep you just enough so that he can hold on to you and you'll hold on to him. He don't want you to evolve. So your season with this young man, it probably never was meant to be in the first place. But again, we do things, get ahead of ourselves, get ahead of God. And you've attached yourself to this man and he don't have good intentions for you. You were probably never meant to be in this space in the first place. Because she also shared with me that she disconnected from her family and hadn't allowed him to move her to a whole other state. Now, what would you do that for? Because this is probably not the environment that you're supposed to be in the first place. So you are not only in the wrong place, you're also with the wrong person. And God is strategically placing people, strangers in your path to give you resources, give you the encouragement you need. And that's what I left her with. This meeting was not by chance. Me having this conversation with you was not by chance. Take the wisdom from it. Take the best part for yourself and make the best decision for you and your babies. Because sometimes you got to do that. You were probably never meant to be attached to this man, but you have allowed yourself to become intertangled with him and his family. He sees the greatness in you. You're working, you have the better credit, you're paying the bills, and you're allowing him to coast. Nope. He's not gonna just let you go. Absolutely not. And especially because he's aware of your self-esteem issues. He's aware of your traumas, and he's using that against you. He's gaslighting you. But when you know better, you do better. And so I pray that she left, and I pray that she received all that this woman and I sold into her yesterday and received it the way it was intended to be received. And I pray that it helps her. But what that also did for me was remind me myself that although I'm not in that particular situation, glory be to God, I'm done with that. Um, there are some spaces and places that I no longer belong in. There are some people that I'm attached to that I just need to let go. And it doesn't mean I don't love them. That just means I have to love them from a distance. There are tables that I'm just no longer meant to sit at. And I have to learn to be okay with that. Because that doesn't mean that my next won't be just as great, just as comfortable, just as meaningful. But I have to be willing to trust God and do it. And allow him to remove me from that table in order to make space for what's to come. So I'm learning in this season that I do have some unhealthy attachments that some of it was my own doing because I got in my own way because I am human. That it doesn't make me a bad person. It just means that I'm evolving. And I have to be willing to grow. And I have to be willing to move on. That every space and place is not meant for me to be in forever. And I have to evolve or I'm going to be stagnant. That old saying, everything that looks good isn't good. Everything that feels good to you isn't always good for you. They're very much true. And we have to be mindful of what we attach ourselves to. For myself, I attached myself to some things out of just pure habit, because it was comfortable, because it was routine, because I don't like change. And God has really made me uncomfortable in those things. He's pulled a lot of things away from me and pulled me away from a lot of things. And so I'm trusting him in this season to do what's best for me. And so that is it. That is what I wanted to share with you. I was very encouraged by that young woman. As much as she thought that I was encouraging her, she was also encouraging me. Yes, God is moving me away from some tables that I used to sit in because they no longer suit me, and they have taken me as far as they can take me. And some of them weren't really for my good. They weren't really good for me. They weren't really good to me. They met a need for a particular moment, and I've overstayed. And so it's time to go. And baby, my next is looking pretty great. So there's some things that are in motion that are coming, some changes that I never thought that I would be okay with, but I am. The evolution is continuous, and so I'm willing this time. I'm a willing participant in my evolution, and I'm excited about what God has for me and what my future is going to hold. So I'm going to leave you with the quote. If God has, and I'm going to say it this way, if God has removed you from a table where you used to sit, it is because he wanted to save you from a host who was serving you poison. Your loyalty had you blinded. Don't be blind by loyalty. Your loyalty should first and foremost be to yourself. You have to be true to you. You have to matter. You have to be your number one in order for you to be able to be anything for anybody else. So put you first, and learn to love you first, because otherwise you're going to unevenly distribute yourself and find yourself in places and spaces where you don't belong. Just because the table is there doesn't mean you need to sit at it. You might need to visit and move along. And so I'm learning in this season that I visited some tables, and now it's time for me to move along. And I'm excited about what's to come. So thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm glad to be back with you guys. I have some more content coming. I'm going to have some more conversations, really good, challenging conversations for you coming up. I also have some very exciting news that I want to share with everyone, but just not quite yet. Check out, again, like I said, my book, She Emerged, the Manifestation of Me. You're going to need it for what's to come. Get the journal if you can. Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think, your questions, your concerns. I love to interact with you guys. Thank you so much again for your continued support. I am enjoying some fun and some sun, and I just thought I wanted to share that with you all. As you can see where I'm at, it's beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful. And I'm not really ready to go, but again, I wasn't meant to sit here in this particular space. It was just for a season. It was just for a visit. And I'm okay with that. Leaving the sunshine. But I'm loving it. I'm loving just being free. It's a great thing. So until next time, the sun rises and sets alone every day and still manages to shine. The moon rises alone every night and still continues to light someone's way. Be the light, and I will catch you next time. Have a blessed day.
Reaping season, and I shall reap the harvest of my labor as promised. I have been called. I am a willing vessel.